Now for this hour, we start with U.S. and Venezuela. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he expects to meet with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner who was in hiding during a deposed President Nicolas Maduro's rule. Meanwhile, Venezuela's interim President Delcy Rodriguez insists that her country is not subjugated despite U.S. President Donald Trump's claim to be in charge thereafter removing her predecessor, Nicolas Maduro. She also emphasized that Venezuela remains autonomous and independent despite the military operation, and there was no passivity during the attacks. Rodriguez has made the remarks during a ceremony for the 100 Venezuelans that her government says were killed during the U.S. assault. Let's listen into what the interim president of Venezuela has shared.
Y cobardes, les estamos legando la historia de un país que no se rinde, de un país que no se subordina. No estamos subordinados, ni estamos sometidos. Tenemos dignidad histórica y tenemos compromiso y lealtad con el presidente Nicolás Maduro, que ha sido secuestrado. Tenemos lealtad con la primera combatienta, diputada Cilia Flores, y hemos comprometido no descansar hasta verlos en libertad, de vuelta a su casa y de vuelta.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Matthew Vadam. He's an American journalist, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, Mr. Vadam, for joining us once again. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Now, looking at this, can you tell us how does U.S., in particular the U.S. administration and President Trump, feels about, Maria Corina Machado and also Rodriguez?
Well, obviously, President Trump would prefer to have Machado in power, but there was an intelligence report that concluded, U.S. intelligence, concluded that she didn't have enough support in the country, particularly the support of the armed forces in Venezuela, and that she wouldn't be able to control it. She would not be able to successfully run a government. And so that is why President Trump temporarily allowed Rodriguez to become the acting president of Venezuela. But there's no indication that that interim status is going to continue for very long. There are discussions right now about whether Venezuela should hold fresh elections. In fact, Machado herself, I believe, is on record in the last couple of days saying she thinks Venezuela should have fresh elections because the ones last year were tainted and Maduro cheated and rigged the elections that allowed him to, continue on as president. So I think that President Trump has warm feelings towards Machado, but he doesn't think his feeling is he doesn't want to hand over the country to her and for it to degenerate into chaos and for them to be like, for example, a military coup that would overthrow her. So that is his concern for stability. And I'm not saying I agree with his concerns. I'm just telling you that's what the Trump administration's position appears to be on this matter.
Thank you for sharing that. And what do you think Trump's administration would do to increase, the popularity of Machado in South America or in Venezuela now?
I'm not sure what he can do to increase her popularity. She's pretty popular, I think, among voters, but she doesn't have the support. She doesn't have institutional support. She doesn't apparently have support within the current government among, top bureaucrats and members of the military. And I think they have to be won over or they need to be replaced. See, the problem is President Trump didn't decapitate the government as a lot of us thought he was in the process of doing. He merely instigated a coup, in effect, and spirited Maduro out of the country to face drug and narco trafficking charges in the United States. He did not eliminate the communist, socialist-inspired government there, and that's a problem. And now that the most urgent matter, getting rid of deposing Maduro, has been taken care of, now Trump has to figure out how he moves on to the next step and tries to give Venezuela some democratic stability. And I'm not sure if he has answers for that yet. Remember, the invasion was, less than a week ago. The invasion that extracted Maduro. They haven't kept troops in the country. They've surrounded the country by sea with a vast American armada. So I don't know if it's fully been thought out, and if the government has plans, I don't think that they have released all of those plans. They're not, public record, and for good reason. For matters of national security, they can't tell their would-be enemies every step that they're going to take. So, I think a lot of work has to be done to stabilize Venezuela, and there are talks ongoing with Machado to figure out how to do that.
Right. Thank you for laying it out all that for us, Mr. Vadam. Please stay with us as we come back to you.